Sup nerds, today we have Battle of the Greymons. I'm playing Greymon Stun / Toolbox, and my opponent is playing Blue Flare, the blue Greymon tribal deck. I start out by hatching Coromon, evoing into Agu, and then playing an Agu and get my Scourge on. He hatches a Wanyamon, evos into a Draco. Then plays arguably one of the best Scourgers in the game, Blazing Memory Boost. I feel like it's always the 6th card where they hit the Tamer. At least that's how it happens to me. They either whiff completely or it's always the 6th card. So he adds 2 cards and then plays Kiriha for free. Seems fair. I go to 2. And I stay in Raising, Evo into Greymon, Evo into Greymon X, Evo into Agu X for 0, draw and add my only target from the search. And then I play Taikamiya for 3 to give my Agumon X 1k and block until the end of my opponent's turn. I considered swinging just to get a free check-in, but I kind of feared checking a Tamer super early in the game. And also I know he's just going to promote that stack, or the little Draco, and swing at me, so I didn't want to give him a free check in my security. And beginning of main phase, he gains memory from the Kiriha and Nene, Digicrosses into Metal Greymon for 3 and stuns my Agu X, unfortunately. Swings for jamming, 1 check. Then swings with Draco for 1 check, draws from the Wanya, and then it dies to the check. I was hoping to be able to block that with my Agu X, but, you know, I went into this match knowing I was going to get stunned on. He pops the Blazing, goes to 3, and then plays Kiriha for 4 to choke me to 1. Beginning of main, I stay in Raising, so I give Agu X blocker and 1k DP, and then I evo into Metal Greymon for 3. And then he goes to 3 from Kiriha and Nene, and beginning of his main phase, he will gain an extra memory from the Kiriha and Nene. He swings with jamming for 1 check, and I do block, taking advantage of my Agu X not being stunned, and we actually both missed the Kiriha and Nene memory gain, which I don't think he would have been able to choke me otherwise, but that's on both of us for forgetting that. So he plays an interesting tech here. The Sora and Mimi is pretty interesting because it basically forces your opponent to either put down a second stack or second Digimon to play around that card, gaining them 2 memory, or playing into the Kiriha and Nene, which is also going to give them memory if too many Digimon are in play. It does get kind of countered by the Floodgate rookies, but it is pretty interesting. It ends up mattering quite a bit in this match, actually, all the memory gain. So I promote my stack, Evo into Metal X for 0, gain a memory off the tie. I am 11, 12, 13, 14,000 DP for 3 checks, piercing through his Metal Greymon, and I have a blocker until the end of his turn. So he material saves 2, and then I get my 3 checks. Of course, it's a Tamer. I'm trying to think about how to play around the Kiriha and Nenes. So I play Yuya from hand, he goes to 3, and then Sora and Mimi give him an extra 2 memory at the beginning of his turn. Let's go to 5. So he taps the Kiriha and Nene to Digicross into Decker from trash in hand, and then Decker's on play, will Tuckosaurus from his Tamers, and that stuns my Metal X, unfortunately. Then he hard plays a Greymon for 4, reveals top 3, misses, and trashes the rest. So I hatch. Beginning of main, I give my Metal X 1000 DP and blocker for my tie. Evo into Agu X. I Evo into WarGreymon for 3. I tapped Ty to gain a memory and tapped Yuya to give him an additional 2000 DP into my opponent's turn. Then he also gains 3000 DP and reboot until the end of my opponent's turn from his own effect. So he's like ginormous right now. He's like 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20,000 DP. I Evo into Greymon and then Greymon X. Then I Evo into Quartzmon for 6. You guys are probably kind of confused by this card being in a Greymon deck, but The reasoning for this is because it evos on top of black Digimon, and both of my megas are black, and it's arguably the best level 7 that can evo on black Digimon. Because I'm playing the WarGreymon Ace card in this deck, so I really didn't want to play any of the Omnimons in fear of not being able to evo into them on top of my WarGreymon Ace. Here, Quartzmon is going to suspend everything on the field, then I'm going to gain 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he goes to 3 from Kiriha, and then gains 2 from Sora and Mimi, and then an additional 2 from his Kiriha and Nenes to go to 7. Sadly, he Full Metal Blazes my Quartzmon for 8. Bot decks my Quartzmon. It would have choked me to 1, but thankfully I have a Yu-Yu in play, so I go to 3. Getting a main, my Tai Kamiya gives me 1000 ZP and blocker. I evo into Metal Greymon Alterous mode for 3. Gain a memory off the Tai, and then Alterous mode will pop a 5k or lower, so I pop the Greymon. Then I evo into Metal X for 0, plus 3k, plus 1 security, and then I tap U to give him an additional plus 2k and unaffected by options till into my opponent's turn. So he is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15,000 ZP right now. Doesn't have piercing, sadly. So I swing security for 2 checks at 15, check another Kiriha, but survive. And then I evo into WarGreymon for 3. He gains an additional 3,000 DP and reboot, and then he goes to 8 from all of the Tamers. And he's currently 21,000 DP with blocker on my opponent's turn, and he can block twice. And he's unaffected by options, so my opponent scoops since he cannot stun him, and the card he has in his hand does not out him since he's unaffected by options. So I do take game 1. Let's go. So my opponent actually makes me go first, so I hatch Makoro, evo into Agu, and evo into Greymon for 2. And then he hatches his Wanyamon. Evos into Gaussmon, then plays Blazing for 5. Oh, and he whiffs, let's go. No free Kiriha for you. I asked my opponent after the match why he made me go first, and he said because if he opens Blazing, he doesn't want to set me to 5 memory, which is fair. So I play Agu for 3, get my Scourge on, add my WarGreymon as my only target. Then I evo into Greymon for 2, give my opponent 2. I don't feel super threatened here. He does have access to 4 memory, and he has a Metal Greymon in his hand, but... So he swings with Gaussmon, it does die, he does not get to draw from Wanyamon. He triggers Gaussmon's on deletion to play a Greymon suspended, and then Greymon's effect gets to search the top 4. And he reveals a Heart's Attack, which I was like, what? I have not seen that card since 1.5 format in like random Ricky Rush decks. If I've ever seen it in a deck, actually. So I just look at it just to remember what it did. And he goes into Metal for 3, stuns my Greymon, and swings for 2 checks with jamming. Checks a red memory boost, which is pretty cool. Although I'm pretty far behind here. Like, I'm down to 2 security already. And I don't really have much going on yet, unfortunately. And he evos into Deckard Greymon for 2. And tucks another source. So sadly my Greymon is stunned. So I am forced to promote to at least deal with one of his bodies. I'd actually prefer if my Greymon was exactly 4k DP here. But sadly he's 6k. Because if he were 4k, I would much rather just crash into the Greymon to just make sure I don't have 2 bodies on the field to proc all the Blue Fair's effects. Sadly I am 6 though, so I do just swing over the Greymon. Then I tuck X Antibody and then evo into Metal X for 3. I tuck the X Antibody to proc the extra 3000 DP. And he swings for 2 checks jamming, evos into Zeeg for 2, gains 2 memory and unsuspends for game. Sadly, there wasn't a whole lot we could do that game. Just got outpaced. Hopefully we can turn around in game 3. So I did choose to go first, even though my opponent has shown an affinity for going second. And I did mulligan and unfortunately bricked with my second hand, no rookies, so I was forced to hard play Greymon for 5 to start the game. Not a good look. So he hatches Wanyamon, evos into Gaussmon. And hard plays a Greymon for 4. Gets a Scourge on. Adds 2 blue flare pieces. And then he hard plays, I believe that's called Syakomon. Keeps you from reducing Evo cost. So I do draw Rookie as my 6th card, so should have gone second. You know, hashtag hindsight. Evo into Greymon X for 0, and then play Red Memory Boost for 3 to choke him to 1, and then add Metal Greymon to hand. So actually not really far, I'm not really that far behind now, even though I was forced to give him 5 memory to start the game. So he swings with Gaussmon and dies. Procs is on deletion to play Greymon Suspended for free. Gets his Scourge on. Adds Kiriha and Zeeg to hand. Swings with Syako. It does survive, and then swings with Gray, and it dies, and then he plays Kiriha Nene to 73. So think about it for a moment, but I do promote, and then I crash my 3000 DP Agu X into the Syakomon to clear it. And then Evo into Metal Greymon for 3 to go to 0. I swing over the Greymon just to clear it. Then I pop the Memory Boost, go to 2, and then play another Memory Boost from my hand for 3 to choke him to 1 and add an Agumon. And then I've successfully cleared all the Digimon but 1, so he does not gain extra memory, so he is hard locked at 1 for this turn. And most likely going to be stunned on this turn, though. So he does Digicross Metal Greymon for 3 and stuns my Metal Greymon. I hatch Evo into Agu. So I Evo into Metal X for 0, plus 3k, plus 1 security until the end of his turn. And then Evo into Greymon for 2, and then Evo into Metal Greymon after popping the Memory Boost for 3 to put him to 1, and then Kiriha Nene gains him a memory to go to 2. Alright, so right here, I Evo'd into my Metal X for a couple of reasons. One, to see more cards, but also to increase his DP. Because I knew he was probably just going to swing at the very beginning of his turn, and I got to do this. Blast Evo. Evo for 0. Hey, guess who has blocker now before the blocker timing window? And I block. Get destroyed. Very cool, Bandai, thank you. It's pretty fun to actually bait people with Metal X by just swinging into your opponent's security. And then they think they can swing over with their Mega on their turn, and then you just blast Evo into WarGreymon, and he's bigger than them, they just crash into it and die. I've done that before as well with him. It's pretty funny. So I just completely gets to waste his turn, and he plays a Kiriha for 4 to set me to 2. So I think about this for a moment, and I think I can actually game him through 5 security if I promote my stack, so I do. Turns out that is not correct. I did not take into account that I do not have the security attack plus 1 Greymon in my stack and raising. If I did, I could kill him through 5 security here, but unfortunately because of that, I'm only just going to be able to clear his security and be forced to leave 2 Digimon in play when he has nothing in play. So this was definitely a mistake. This is basically like a punt by me just not just thinking about it for a little bit longer and realizing I couldn't kill him. But I do Evo into Alterous Mode, Evo into Metal X to give him plus 3k and plus 1 security. So that stack is 11, 12, 13k for 2 checks. And I swing 2 checks. Check into the Kiriha Nene, very cool. Then I swing with WarGreymon for 11 for 2 checks. He unsuspends from the first check because security was removed from the stack. And then I realize right here, I'm like, oh, I did not math this correctly, and I cannot kill him. So I swing again. Check a Blazing. So I gave him 2 additional Tamers and a Blazing Memory Boost, and it is not game. Hashtag feels bad. And then I just play Greymon to set him to 3. Since he has a memory setter anyway, and I already have 2 Digimon in play, I was just like, whatever. If he can't stun everything or kill me, I can just kill him on my turn. Yeah, that was definitely 100% a mistake. I should not have promoted there. I should have just swung once for 11k for 2 checks and unsuspended, then done something else without putting Digimon in play. Don't do that. So he taps Kiriha and crosses into Metal Greymon for 3. Stuns my Greymon since he can't stun my big stacks. He swings security for 8k for 2 checks with jamming. I blast Evo into my other WarGreymon ace on my other stack. The check happens, they both unsuspend from the check happening, and then the second check happens. And now I have 2 blockers. Hopefully that gets me there. Hopefully he can't stun everybody. And he should actually be at 3 here. We both missed this. He should have paid 3 for the Metal Greymon. Hopefully this doesn't end up mattering, but we'll see. Evo's in a Zeeg for 2, and then gains some memory back and unsuspends. His Zeeg's 11k, but my big WarGreymon ace stack is actually bigger than him. It's like 15,000 DP, I think. So he digicrosses with the Kiriha and Nene effect into that Metal Greymon. So he gets to trash 2 sources from one of my Digimon. It's any 2 of his choosing. So trashes the Agumon and the Alterous mode. So he swings with Metal Greymon, and because I have 2 more Digimon, he gets to stun one of my Digimon. He stuns the short stack WarGreymon ace, and then he will unsuspend. And now, unfortunately, I only have 1 block, and he has 2 swings because of the stun. So thankfully, the 3 memory didn't end up mattering. He would have been at 0 here if we were both paying attention like we should have been. So, yeah. He does take it. Unfortunately, very close game. Hair on the chinny chin chin. If I had not promoted with my stack on the previous turn and given him all that extra memory without killing him, I think we probably could have taken this one. But sadly, that's the way she goes. But I do appreciate you guys stopping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy seeing this kind of content. Want to come back for more. But until next time, see ya.